So we've had this wrap for more than 6 months, and just for context, this is the Avery Denizen MPI 1105 with a matte laminate, right? So this was actually one of our prototypes when we were designing the X-ray wrap. It was our first print, so we have some imperfections here and there because we're trying to figure it out. So when we design it, we actually install it, which is a lot of work, but I think it's the right way to do it. So you are gonna see me suffer, and I think most common question with wraps is, how's it gonna look underneath it? So that's exactly what we're gonna find out today. It's about 45, no, about 50 degrees outside. Would you say, like somewhere around there? So it's not hot, it's not cold, there's no sun. So this is gonna be either like really bad, or it might be smooth. But one contextual thing that is that I love working with Avery Denizen and their films because they do some extensive testing, right? So before they even launch a lot of their films, they do a lot of testing to make sure that it removes properly. And they could say, you know, that it will remove without causing much damage. So that's exactly what we're going to find out. I can tell you I've removed this quite a bit. We've wrapped the Cybertruck dozens of times. This has definitely been the most wrapped Cybertruck in the world. I'm certain of that. So the first thing is you want to use a heat gun. I don't have a heat gun out here, but you can use, I would not recommend, if you're not experienced with torch, I would not recommend using a torch, but you do want to warm up the area, right? But before we even warm up the area, I'm just going to try to remove it without warming up. I actually started a little bit in the back before we started this video. So I'm just going to I'm going to open up this tailgate. And then I'm going to start from the bottom right here and just see how well it removes or how well it doesn't remove. So we'll find out. You just need to get it started. So there you go. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. Well, at least this is well wrapped, so that's a good thing. It doesn't come out as easy. So if you're wondering, oh, I can just peel it off, it's not as easy, okay? All right, so what you're seeing, guys, is this is actually the printable layer, and then above that is actually the laminate layer. So if you're doing it right, and if your print job is right, you're always going to have a laminate because it will actually make sure that it protects the film from discoloration, from the UV rays, and all that stuff so that it lasts for a long time. And this particular film, the Avery Denizen MPI 1105, is rated for like, I forget if it's 5 or 7 years, but it's a long time. So you can see no heat pretty much. I'm just kind of starting it from kind of like the bottom. Maybe I should start from the top. So far, it's not really problematic, right? It's actually removing fairly well. No residue. And, you know, I think you're gonna see me suffer a little bit, but it's really not that bad. But I think that a lot of people ask the question because they see some, you know, Facebook posts or something and it's just horrible stories around it. What I tell a lot of our customers, and the reason why we stick with bigger brands, Avery Denizen, 3M, you know, so on, is that typically they have a lot more testing where it'll just peel a lot cleaner, right? So that's kind of why I recommend those bigger brands, because they've just done a lot more around that. Okay, this is getting really hard, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start. I just need to get it started. I remember I didn't actually fold this over when I tested this, so I'm just gonna start right here. All right, this is actually meaningful at this point, a lot more. So what I'm trying to do, guys, is I'm trying to get it at the top right here, because then I could just pull it down. And I'll show you underneath the steel. And in this video, I don't think you want to watch me remove every single panel, but I want to remove at least this big one right here, because this is going to be one of the harder ones. So I felt like, might as well show the hard stuff rather than the easy stuff, right? I could remove a pillar, but I mean, you guys won't actually see me struggle. All right, so one other factor too, guys, is this is not heated. If it was heated, this would actually be a lot easier. So what I would recommend is putting this out in the sun and let it kind of bake a little bit before you actually start this process. And that will make it far easier than what I'm doing right now. So I'm kind of putting myself through this. So, nope.
How long has it been on?
This has been on for 6 months or more, actually. When did we launch the X-ray kit? Yeah, 6 months, roughly, I think. Awesome. So, pretty good progress. You can see that I didn't have any issues right here, but then once I got to the top, it's starting to kind of flake out. But one thing I want to show right here is, look at this. There's no adhesive. And one of the problem that you have, especially those cheaper vinyl and less known brands, the layers, right? So you saw the laminate layer when I was peeling it, it was kind of like, almost like delam looking. But that's just a layer from the printable and the laminate separating, right? But one other thing that you'll see is the adhesive will actually stick to the steel, and it's a nightmare to remove. That's really what you're hoping that it doesn't happen. So right now you see that none of that is happening. I am gonna add some heat, just a little bit. You can see it curl up a little bit. By the way, I would not recommend using torch unless you're probably a rapper. All right, so, and I want to be as transparent as possible, okay? So I'm gonna show you right here, as I remove this in the cold, I guess it's not cold, but it's not warm, right? With very minimal heat, very, very, very little adhesive being left behind. There is a little bit of adhesive being left behind. Do you see these little dots right here? Those are actually adhesive being left behind. However, it's not enough to be where this is going to be hard to get rid of with a simple clay bar or something like that. Or if you wash it, a lot of it was going to be removed. So you saw that once I added heat, it does remove better and cleaner, which is what we're hoping. Look at that. Boom. But I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to grab something, so I'll be right back. All right. So I am going to close this door, so watch out. And I'm going to just use a towel. And it's not quite boiling, but it is pretty hot water. I'm going to put my little torch right here, and I'm just gonna put it up here. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I am just using, I'm gonna be using hot water to just put it in this towel. And what is that? Oh, that's from the vinyl that's balled up. I get it. All right. And I do this in PPF. PPF typically has actually a lot, it's definitely a lot more aggressive. So we actually did a video where we were removing, I think it was Evios, right? And a couple other stuff. Whoa, that was hard. That was really, really hard. So I mean, you can kind of tell how cold it is. It is very, very hot water. Yeah, that's pretty hot, but it's not like piping hot where it hurt me, but it is pretty hot. So you can see all the steam coming out. What I do is I'm soaking it, I'm letting it sit like this, and it changes. And the reason why I like doing this method, especially for the steel, that steel holds so much of the temperature, right? So if you're in the cold, it takes a whole long time for it to really get to room temperature. And it's the same thing, if it's hot, it gets really, really hot, right? So this is why I like this method, and let this sit a little bit for maybe like a couple minutes. I'm gonna see what it looks like. And then while that's happening, I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna leave it there. So you can see, look at this now. Look how much easier it is for me to just grab it. And that's exactly what you want. That's the difference between having heat and no heat. Like up here, I didn't add any heat. It didn't quite reach there. So now it starts to break and it starts to kind of have issues right there, right? But all the other areas, look at this. That is pretty sweet and a lot easier than I anticipated. And it's not breaking off as much because I've added that heat. See that? All right, and then now that we're here, I'm just gonna kind of move this back to this corner. Maybe I have enough heat, maybe I don't, maybe I need some more water. But I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about is removal. And I'm only talking about this particular brand, but I would say, 3M Avery, I have never had issues removing. And look how easy, of course, I really need to remove this trim, so. I remove this trim so often that, I don't know, it's kind of easy at this point. All right, you can see now. All right, so I actually didn't heat this up, but the more you do the heating like this, I can feel this temperature right now. It is nice and warm, right? And because it's holding that temperature from the water, and the water has a property where it can kind of put the heat through and transfer a lot faster, it's way better than the heat. The heat is more in the surface, and it doesn't quite heat up. And obviously, I would not use a torch for most of your sulfur. I would use just a normal heat gun. And all here, it's a little bit warmer on this side because, I started it on this side and I kind of got the residual. But this is kind of what I'm talking about. You see these dots? And I think it's also important, and I'm going to remove the whole thing. So I'm actually going to boil some more water. So let me go get some clay bar. Let me get some more water and I'll be right back. So this area was the area, now I got some soap and I got some clay bar. This area was the area that I didn't quite put a lot of heat, right? So I didn't have the towel, I just kind of had it more here. So you can see the areas that I did it left a little bit of residue. This is pretty minor. So to get rid of it, all you really need to do is put some soap, and you could get some clay bar, and you do this. I don't have a towel with me right now, but all of that goes away fairly easy, right? So that's what I would recommend. This clay bar is actually a very light clay bar. There's actually different grades. There's light, medium, coarse, or hard, and all those things. This is very light. I like using light duty. I think that's really all you need to do this. I actually got this area warmed up. I don't know how warm it is, just because, I didn't quite warm all these areas. But you can tell a huge difference. The areas I did warm and the areas I didn't, is a huge difference. I'm gonna go ahead and try to remove this, and I actually didn't warm this area. And hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea of removal. So normally, guys, whenever I do remove from like PPF or vinyl on a car, here's what I like to do. I actually pull away like this and let the surface tension be as minimal. But in this case, I could be a little bit more aggressive. I'm just gonna pull down, right? And then look at all that. It's removing pretty well. Underneath it, there's some residue being left in there. It's small dust. Yeah, don't fall. That's gonna be on the highlights for sure. Look at that. So this is also what happens if it's cold, right? So this area is quite cold. So if you try to do it in the cold, this is what's gonna happen. So do not try to do this if you're in the north, northeast, anywhere with snow, pretty much, like if you're in Colorado or something. So I have a little bit more water. That should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and get this done. Here we go. That's right. All right, my trusted, there we go. So I'm just gonna put this down. I'm gonna just do this again. This worked so well. And this is a good size. This is actually our drying towel, guys. I like it because it's so big, right? Compared to the other towels, it's so tiny, very little coverage. I just kind of hold it. And then, Okay, I'm just gonna let that sit for a little bit. I'm just gonna go ahead and, I do have another towel, but I'm just gonna go ahead and hit this. Whew. All right, so with that being said, man, I can feel immediately, like I probably should just let it sit. But do you see the difference? I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but you can see how much easier it is because the panel is actually far more pliable, or the vinyl is, not the panel, sorry. And it's just coming down so much easier than it was without heat. So that's really the key to removal, is having enough heat. And you can see that it's removing fairly easily and fairly well. So there we go. And then just slowly, for this one I try to make sure that it's in one piece. It does go in, but just a little bit. We don't require you to remove all of this, because I don't think you need to. You can get full coverage without actually doing that. But go ahead and just slowly remove this. Look at that. That was a lot easier than I thought. So we got this side as well, and we're gonna continue that. Honestly, I probably should get a little bit more heat, but I'm just gonna try to finish without it, maybe. Maybe I can't. Yeah, this is the, I can feel that there wasn't a whole lot of heat in that area, and I can feel it actually. So, what are you guys learning so far? Don't do this in the cold. Use high quality material. And I don't know, I feel like you're learning a lot of things you shouldn't do through this video, hopefully. That's gonna suck, but you don't want to have to do it. Oh, that's gonna suck, but it's okay. Here we go. We got some right here. Trying to be careful and really try to keep it in on one piece here, because it's gonna suck if I have to get that out in multiple pieces. Oh, what? Lamination. Yeah, so this is the laminate right here. I mean, this is fine. It's pretty common. We do use heat to laminate it, but you know, when you remove, that's a pretty common occurrence. All right, so this is the area that, actually, not up here, but all the other areas did get some heat, because I can feel it right away. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to pull this out now. Yeah. All right. You know, our channel really focuses on the do-yourself element, right? So again, if you're wondering why we're doing it outside, I think most people are going to be doing it outside. So we're going to try to put ourselves in their position and show you some tips along the way as I suffer and fall down and battle with this. One other tip too, whenever you're doing this, is you do want to try to avoid delamination like this. However, it's kind of hard sometimes. So that's going to happen. But you don't also want to be like crazy fast with it, because I think when you fast, you're more likely to get some of those adhesive. So I kind of go in this kind of pace, maybe not that slow, but in that kind of pace, and then just kind of keep going. Okay. And typically I try to get the edges, but sometimes edges are harder. So I think it just depends on the wrap and just trying to figure out your, this is happening because it's delaminated, and without the lamination, it's actually quite thin, like the vinyl itself. So you're seeing, oh, that's really good coverage though. Okay, so lastly, okay, this is warm, this side isn't. That's why I'm struggling right now. Let's see if I could maybe start from the bottom. Oh yeah, maybe not. Okay, yeah, that's tough. I definitely need more heat. Let me see if I can use some of my, bug. Do not do this at home. definitely warmer. All right, I think we got something. Wow.
That just shows how much the towel method works better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't quite get, I mean, I can feel the areas that got a lot of heat and some areas that didn't get a lot of heat. Like I can tell right now it's stiffer. If you do have the towel method, it's actually more, I guess, softer. I think you can see it through the camera. Like if you, like this part got heat a little bit, it's already kind of cooled because the temperature right now is not quite warm outside, so it's not holding that temperature for long. So really, I should do it as fast as I can. But yeah, it's separating right now, which makes it a little bit of a challenge. So one of the things, right now you're seeing just DLAM. For solid colors from like Avery Denizen, the SW900 series, it wouldn't do this because it's usually laminated or done it in a production sense. This is done in a production sense, but it's a different way. We probably should have done more heat. We were doing this as the first production line, so we just cold rolled it. What I mean by cold roll is typically when you laminate, there's two rollers, and one of them is very hot, and it really just kind of blends it into two. This one, we didn't have time. We wanted to kind of move it forward, so we just did cold roll. No heat at all, so no heat assist. So I think if we did that, this would have done a little bit better in terms of keeping its integrity between the two layers, right? So that's kind of what I'm struggling with. But honestly, the heat method would work really well. But I think part of this is to kind of show you what the struggle is. But I know it looks bad right now, but honestly, it's been peeling very, very well for the most part. So, all right, so we're at the end right here. I was so close of it not like peeling, and it still peeled. We'll go ahead and do that. All right. I'm gonna just start from the top again and try to go into that area. All right, that's a little bit better. Definitely less DLAM. All right. And you can see, like, if you're like, oh, anybody can peel it off. I mean, they could, but it's not easy. Like, so you're probably gonna find them do this before they're done. It takes some time and, you know, effort to try to do that. So don't worry too much about that. Okay. So guys, this again is a reminder. This is color, I guess printed vinyl. This is not PPF. I find that PPF is more aggressive and typically it's harder. So we'll do another video about PPF. We're about to wrap this in PPF as well. So we'll do another video, but, and we did a video, right? Removing the EVOS one. And that one is just, it's just very aggressive. The adhesive, once it bonds, yeah, it's a lot of work to remove it, honestly. I think if you're gonna wrap, it's not one of those things like you're gonna do every year. I think it would definitely be something that you do for longer term, because this is gonna be very difficult to remove for PPF. I mean, vinyl is easier, but I think PPF is way harder. All right, so I'm very, very close to the edge, which makes it a lot easier. There we go, I say that, and then it breaks, of course. All right. Oh, getting so close. I'm getting impatient now. All right.
And then you're pulling close to the panel, you're not pulling away from the panel or something?
Yeah, so it's just, so stainless steel is awesome, right? But stainless steel also sticks a lot more aggressively than normal clear coat. So that's kind of why for this one, I'm a little bit more aggressive in terms of pulling. It's just much more aggressive. Like the adhesive is gonna grab the stainless steel a lot more than it does for like normal clear coat cars. That's just what I've seen. So, I mean, as far as adhesiveness, like it sticks perfectly fine. Like stainless steel is great. It's just more of a removability thing, but you can see that it does remove fine. It's just not hard, not easy. Okay, so we're just gonna slowly, oh, that's what happens. There you go. There's some of that DLAM right there, but no worries. Yeah, it's cold. Yep, so that's exactly what happens when it's cold. I'm gonna try to heat it up a little bit more, and I think we have some water coming. So that's gonna be very helpful. If you are using any sort of torch, you gotta move it around. Do not stay in one. This is very, very hot. Just to show you. Look at that, burning that laminate. Very, very hot. Smoky. All right. So right now it's the end of the day. It's about like 6 o'clock. It's getting cooler really by the minute, right? You can feel the air coming in. So that's kind of why, like this is cool to the touch right now. And it just gets harder and harder. So definitely have a heat gun around. I love using the towel method. I think that's the method that I would recommend. And then pretty much make your life a lot easier than trying to struggle all the way through. It doesn't have to be boiling. So again, it doesn't have to be boiling, piping hot or anything. Just needs to be pretty dang hot. I don't know, I can't tell you temperature, but just don't go all the way. I'm just gonna pour some here. You can see the steam from all of that. I'm just gonna do this method because it's so short, this area. Awesome. So now, oh my God, this is so much better. Thank you. Hopefully this is the last of what I need. Oh yeah. I think that's one thing that you gotta keep in mind is if you are gonna get another wrap shop to do it, most likely guys, they are gonna charge a removal fee. They typically charge by the hour. I would say this will take, you know, 3 to 4 hours probably to just remove, honestly. Probably more with PPF. But that hot water did the trick. Just a drastic difference, right? Temperature is such a big role, right? For installation and removal. So just keep that in mind for both things. It's very, very important. Temperature is always going to play a role somewhere or another. Okay, and then after remove it, I'll actually get some waterless wash real quick and then kind of wipe it down just to show you guys. But I'm very, very happy with how it's been removing so far. I mean, yes, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but that was the point of this video. We just didn't want it to be like a video where it's like, look, it's super easy to remove. I mean, it's not hard, but it is a struggle. So I think we've displayed that enough. Well, look at that. Okay, there's gonna be some edges right here because it does fold over. You can see that edge. So there wasn't as much heat, so it's kind of breaking right there. So I'm gonna be mindful of this. There you go. So I got this bottom edge right here. It's breaking. Boom. And then right over here. Wow, look at that. Just gonna put it right here. Don't worry too much about it. All right, there's that small little rascal. I would definitely get like forceps. Where's my hot water? Do I have some more? See if I could, oh yeah. Just need a little bit of grip.
Look how dirty your hands are.
Hey, this truck gets dirty, so it's not always dirty. That's it. All right, so just real quick, I have a drying towel. So this is obviously a wet one, but you can see, I mean, this is not wiping it down, I'm just kind of watering it, but very, very little residue, guys. Just gonna wipe it down real quick with some water. And then let me grab a dryer towel real quick. Got the towel, no wash right now, but this is post removal. Very little, there's a little bit of adhesive right there, you can see, which I can show you can get rid of with the clay bar. A little bit right here, all the areas that we did not heat, right? So hopefully if you learn anything, heat it up before you actually remove stuff. Heat is very, very your best friend pretty much in the removal. So there you have it. I think this pretty much sums up what the process would look like. This is again for printed vinyl, but it'll be very similar to actual color vinyl. I think the difference is it wouldn't typically delaminate like you saw several of the times. In fact, it'll probably be easier. But from my knowledge, the MPI 1105 is a very similar technology to the SW900, which is their normal color line, which is comparable to like 3M 2080 and so on, right? So removal is great. Now this is ready. Obviously we're gonna clean it up a little bit and get it all ready, but we can wrap it again for the 69th time. So we're about to get ready to wrap another one, which will be another video. Hopefully this helped you guys. Let us know if you have any questions. Click on that subscribe button and we'll see you next time. We got the rest of the car to do.